Hello, I'm Rachel Park. Welcome to this episode of the MTC3 interview series. Today I am joined by Christoph Laumen from Linde. Hi Christoph, thanks very much for joining us.
Yeah.
So if we could just start with maybe a brief introduction to how long you've been working in the AM sector and what that's involved over the years.
Yeah, kind of, right. Yeah, Linde started with the AM activities about 4 years ago. And I have been basically initiating and driving that during that time. It was really like we started with 2 people in the lab, and we thought there should be some gases application, which is basically our business in AM. Today, this has been growing to about a team of 10 people, and with 3 printers, and it has really become an own area of activity for our development roadmap today, basically.
Where we are now, you've been involved with it for 4 years, but I would suggest that today we're seeing more of a steady progression towards normalization of additive manufacturing rather than anything truly revolutionary. How do you see the state of the industry currently from your perspective?
Well, I think it develops, and you see day to day more and more applications, but I think you would be a fantast not seeing the challenges that we are still having. And I think this is a little bit, the reality thing that everybody is seeing now.
Yeah.
I mean, we are missing industry standards for many of the processes along the whole value chain. I think we're still missing some clear guidance on which parameters to be used, for which materials, for which machines. But I still think, there is a progression, as you could say, or there is a development into the right direction. Because what we also see is more and more alternative AM technologies. And I think this, for me, is interesting. We go away from only looking at laser, where there was much focus on the last couple of years, powder bed, laser processes. But now we see other cost-efficient processes, like resin-based binder jetting and so on. And I think this will also make it into more mass production industries, like automotive industries and other. And hopefully that will help to bring the whole AM topic quicker into industrialization. And partnerships play a big role in this. Collaboration play a big role in that. And I think many things we do today also as Linde, or as BOC, or as AGA, the brands we are using around the world that people would know, it's really a lot about partnerships. It's partnering up with other players along the value chain. And bring what we can bring into the whole game to increase productivity, increase repeatability, and solve these challenges that I was mentioning, basically.
Okay, that's brilliant. So that's one aspect actually that I was interested to ask you about, as in Linde is not really a company that many would automatically associate with additive manufacturing. So could you give us an idea of how it kind of fits into the AM landscape?
Yes, of course, happy to do that.
Yeah.
You can imagine this is a question we have to answer quite often,
sure.
right? Because people always would ask, AM, Linde, how does that fit together?
Exactly.
Right? But it does, as in many other industries, people wouldn't really know that there is a lot of industrial gases involved, and that gases really can play a difference, right? I mean, it's in food industry, it's in the refineries industries, any industry that we have in the world, there is gases involved, and they can make things that you cannot do with the other processes or parameters or things that are involved in the technologies. And the same is basically for AM. So we were quite sure that AM would make a difference to the manufacturing industry. And early enough we figured out that there is a role for gases in that. There is a way of improving efficiency, improving productivity, improving quality with using gases. And so we looked into the whole value chain. We tried to find out, there is a gas application in atomization. There is gas applications on packaging, on handling of powders. Then we go into the actual building process, the printing part of the process, but also post-processing. I mean, there is gas involved in everything. Yeah. And as it is with welding and other technologies that are very similar from a technology standpoint to what we do today in AM, you can make a difference with the gas, even if it's invisible. Right? But it needs a lot of communication to people. Right?
You're pinching my questions.
Yeah, sorry for that.
No, it's really good. It leads me in really well, because I saw Linde beautifully described as additive manufacturing's invisible but essential component.
Yeah.
So can you tell us about any of the key developments in that area that you've been working on?
Yes, of course. Yeah, because we call it invisible because gas you can't see, right? You can see a machine, you can see moving building blades, you can see, all the other things are much easier for people to recognize. And for them it's also easier to imagine there will be an impact on if the building blade or the laser moves quicker, moves faster, if it's higher energy or lower energy. In gases it's a bit more different, right? Because they are invisible, but they have an effect. And as I said, we look at it along the whole value chain, and we do developments along the whole value chain. Because, you can make atomization more efficient, you can change the yield that you can get out of atomization by potentially not only atomize or spray with argon, but use a mix of argon and other components, gaseous components that are more active. So you can potentially get a different corn size distribution of your powders and so on, and increase the productivity based on that. If you package gases, or if you package powder under gases, you can store it longer. There is no risk for deterioration of the properties. There is no humidity that is picked up by the powder that forms agglomerates and all these kind of things. But you need to know which is the right gas, and which is the right concentration of which gas in the package to get the best results.
So you're talking about tailor-made gases.
It's very much tailor-made.
Process to process,
it's
or
for
machine
process
to machine?
to process. It's from material to material.
Oh, right.
So it's different for titanium than for aluminium than for nickel alloys, right? So. And this means there is a lot of need for development, for investigation, for trials. It's a lot trial and error. Of course, we do simulations as well, right? With the knowledge we have in-house from other processes. But it's a lot also experimenting, and there is errors and there is failures, and then you go back, see, okay, what do we need to change to improve it even more?
So as of today, where would you say you're up to in terms of your strategy and your vision?
I think we started with the easy things. And,
okay.
The easy things, as I said 4 years ago, people that wanted to implement additive manufacturing into their production came to us. Companies like Airbus and others approached us saying, well, we need a more repeatable process. We need a process that makes sure that the quality is the same from part to part. Otherwise, we would never be able to reach certification that we need for our parts. But we believe, and this was for us the kickoff, the starting point, we believe that gases is a parameter that today is not considered.
No, exactly.
So, and that's when we started a joint development with Airbus, and this was our first products, to make sure that you can actually characterize exactly what atmosphere is in the building chamber. So what is the oxygen content in the building chamber? What is the humidity level in the building chamber? How much is the flow in the building chamber? And not only by putting a set value in the machine, but really measuring it in the process, close to the laser, and really keep this stable and also have an online control on that. So that was the things we looked into first. So it was really like measuring the reality. How is it really in the chamber, in the package, in the atomizing tower? And then make sure to find the optimum and regulate it. And that's what we did. And these were the first products we launched already 2 years ago, the Advanced O2, which is a system to retrofit any printer to have this stricter control on the atmosphere.
Any printer?
Any printer. And any printer, powder bed, laser fusion, powder bed printer.
Yeah.
But any printer that basically has a closed chamber, a closed building chamber. It doesn't make sense to do it, if you have an open chamber. But also now in alternative technologies, binder jetting and others, people will use shielding gases going forward, because these powders, they are using aluminium powders, the worst on one end of the scale. You need to prevent them from oxidation. Okay. And so you need a shielding gas. And if you want to use a shielding gas, you need to know which is the best, which is the most efficient one. Now we go a little bit further. So we are kind of now in the second step of our development roadmap, because now we see, can we increase also productivity, or can we add other functions by adding different gas components or using other gases? And I think, you have probably seen in the presentations in there, we elaborate a lot with gas mixtures in the building chamber, because it can remove fumes much quicker than the current situation.
So there are safety issues.
So it's a safety issue. Yeah. It's, the fumes are kind of in the way for the laser also. Mm-hmm. So, you can now operate the machine. It enables you to operate the machine quicker and move the laser faster, because it's not disturbed by the fumes. Or, you can cool the part quicker. And thermal management is also an important point. Yeah? If you can use cold gases, or if you can even think about, it's in a very early stage, but cryogenic applications, and to cool the part quicker, you can build quicker. So now we are more on productivity increase, which at the end leads to cost savings, and that's what everybody is looking for in the industry, really.
That's brilliant. So that's where we're at now. In terms of the longer term, what are your goals in that respect for Linde?
For us it's important, to accelerate industrialization, because only when we know the applications, the real applications, the applications where AM really will make a difference, where it will add value.
It's interesting to hear you say the real applications.
Yes.
How do you define that then, based on the applications that we have today?
Because we have partly real applications, but I think many applications are probably done even if maybe the benefit is just there, or maybe even they are cost neutral, or they are, when it comes to the added value, there is quite some sensitivity, you might easily lose it. Yeah. So I think there is definitely real applications, but I think we heard in the conference a lot today that, we need to look out for the real applications where AM can make a big difference. And this cannot be just, substituting a conventionally produced part by an AM part. We need to build in other functions. We need to, find cost savings that are in a much higher degree that we see today.
I think it does need to be a lot more economically viable.
Yes, it needs to be economically viable. Yeah. And we need to get out of this. I think probably 5 years ago, and the time before that, we were in a lab stage. Now we are probably in a pilot stage, in a beta stage. We have some applications, but the big breakthrough isn't there yet, I think, right? At least not in all industries. I think there are exceptions, like medical industry, like aerospace industry, like, where they could really sense the value it brings very early, and where it was easy for AM to actually enter these industries. But if we look into mass production, into the big industries, into car applications and these things, there is still a way to go. And they start now, right? They started with where it makes sense for them, which is, fully legitimate, I think, in the polymeric side and so on. But we see now, they're really interested now to fully industrialize it. And I think, instead of having a technology push that we have probably seen a bit the last couple of years, we should have this application pull. We should have applications that ask for a special AM technology, special characteristics, special, cost-efficient way of producing a special part. Yeah, exactly. I think this is the phase that we would like to move into. And we will be there. Linde will be there to support that with our partners. We have great collaborations with partners along the whole value chain. And I think we are all ready to go that way, jointly with the end users.
Brilliant. Well, I think that's a wonderful place to end. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much for your time. Thank you. It was great talking to you. Thank you.